Good morning, Year 5. Today we are going to be carrying on our work on describing a setting in a narrative. We're going to be thinking today not just about what you can see, what you can hear, what you can taste, touch and smell. We're going to be thinking of different ways that you could start your sentences. If you imagine having to read a story where every sentence begins with he did this or she did that or they did this, it'd be quite boring and I'm not sure we'd want to carry on reading till the end. So today we're going to be thinking about different ways that we can start our sentences. So writing is much more interesting when you begin your sentences in different ways. I think we'd all agree that. We can use the DADWAVERS listed below to help us to do this. So if you have a look here, DADWAVERS is spelled out here. And each letter stands for a different type of sentence that you could write. So D is for description, A for action, so something that's happening. D is for dialogue, so speech. W, where something is happening. A, an adverb or a fronted adverbial. V, start with a verb. E, estimation of time, so one of those time words. R, a rhetorical question. And S, a simile or a metaphor. Okay, so we mentioned yesterday that a simile is when you compare something to something else. So something is like something else. And a metaphor is when you say something is something. So let's have a look at some examples. So I've got 9 sentences here. And there is an example of each of those DADWAVERS. So I'm going to read them out to you and have a think about which of those DADWAVERS here in this green box is that sentence. So we're looking really at the beginning of the sentences. How have they started? Because they haven't started with he or she. Okay, they've started in different ways. So number 1, excitedly, I held my breath as I stepped off the space rocket. So which of these DADWAVERS is the start of this sentence? Have you got it? That's right, it's an adverb. Excitedly is an adverb. It describes how I held my breath. And also the other clue is it ends in an ly. Not all adverbs do, but a lot of them end in an ly, don't they? Let's have a look at the next one. Amongst the trees, I saw a peculiar creature. So amongst the trees, which of these DADWAVERS do you think that one is? That's right, it's telling us where something is happening. Now, well, actually, I'll come back to that point in a minute. I'll carry on for a second. So, number 3. I won't hurt you, he whispered cautiously. So I think we all know, don't we? That one is our dialogue, it's our speech. The air was electric. It could have been cut with a knife. Now, what do you think that one is? That's a metaphor. The air isn't really electric. We know that, don't we? But I'm comparing it to being electric. I'm saying the air is electric. It has that sort of buzzy feel. Number 5 then, screeching roars deafened my ears. So which of these DADWAVERS do you think that is? Pause me if you want to have a bit more time. That's right, it's a verb. Screeching is a verb, isn't it? It's something that you do. Now, when you're starting sentences with verbs, a lot of the time you need your verb and you need to put ing on the end of it. Screeching, roaring, stomping. Okay? They all have ing at the end of them. And they're all verbs. Let's have a look at the next one. Without a moment's hesitation, I ran, pushing and shoving my way through the trees. Which one do you think this one is? That's right, it's action, okay? The sentence is telling me something that is happening. And it's exciting, isn't it? It's a bit of an exciting piece of action. Number 7, what is this place? I think we can do that one quite quickly, can't we? That is a rhetorical question. So a rhetorical question, if you remember, is a question that you don't expect an answer to. Number 8, minutes seemed to crawl by like hours as we waited. So have a look at those DADWAVERS. What have I used there? That's right, estimation of time. So minutes seem to crawl by like hours. That's telling me more about the time and how it's feeling at that moment, isn't it? And then number 9, the many moons circled above us among the colourful sky. That is an example of a description, a descriptive sentence. Now, what I was going to say earlier was that you might be looking at some of these and saying, hang on, Mrs. Galt, some of these have got fronted adverbials, so aren't they adverbs? And you're right, some of them are. I think some of them can be very similar, but it doesn't really matter. I'm not saying that you have to use every single one of these in every piece of writing you do. What I'm saying is that these are all examples of different ways to start your sentences. And if you use a few of them when you're writing, it will just make your writing that bit more interesting, and it will really up-level your writing. So let's have a look at what we're going to be doing today. So you're going to have a DADWAVERS sheet with a picture of a sci-fi setting in the middle. There's a few options for you to choose from, or I might have left a blank one, but if you want to choose a different setting, that's fine. And we're going to go around, I just need to move my face a second, and we're going to have a think about a sentence I could write in each box, okay? So I want you to pause the video and I want you to look at that picture, or if you think about any of the other setting pictures that we've looked at, could you write me a sentence that's a descriptive sentence? So what would you describe in that picture? All right, I'll show you what I did. So I wrote, there were several moons floating gracefully above me in the colourful sky. So why don't you pause the video here and have a go at writing down a descriptive sentence. Okay, off you go. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Let's go on to action. So I'm thinking about something that's happening that might be a bit exciting. Now, there might not be much happening in this picture, which is why I said you can think about the other settings that you've looked at as well. So I've written, a group of frantic birds wailed as they searched for food. Okay, so something that is happening. Let's look at dialogue. What would you imagine somebody saying? Wow, I gasped, full of awe. Okay, so it's really simple, but it just makes your writing that bit more interesting. Right, let's have a look at where. Can I start my sentence with a where phrase? Behind the fallen tree were rocks floating in the air. Now I've forgotten my comma there. There we go. Bet you all spotted that, didn't you? So behind the fallen tree, so that's where, were rocks floating in the air. Let's have a look over here. Can I start my sentence with an adverb this time? Cautiously, I stepped out of the rocket. So I'm imagining I've just arrived at this planet and I'm exiting cautiously, carefully. For my next sentence, I want to start with a verb. So something that I'm doing. Pondering where to go next, I sat down. And then on to estimation of time. So can I start my sentence with some words that are telling me about the time, how the time is feeling or what time of day it is? So minutes felt like hours as I hid from the terrifying beast. So I can sense, can't I, from that sentence that it was only a short time, but it felt like so long because I was so terrified that this beast was going to find me. Can I use a rhetorical question? I know you're really good at using rhetorical questions in your writing. I'm sure you've got lots of good ideas. Let's see what I've got here. Could this be what we're looking for? So maybe you've gone to this planet looking for something. Have you found it? And could I use a simile or a metaphor in my next sentence? Let's have a look. My legs felt wobbly like jelly as I pushed my way through. So there's my simile. My legs felt wobbly like jelly. Okay. So your task today then is to choose one of the setting pictures and use DADWAVERS to write different sentences describing it. If you're finding some of them tricky, go back through the video and have a look at the examples that we've gone through. Okay, so there's some there. There's some here that you could change. So there's help here if you're finding it a bit hard to get started. You don't have to do them in order. Do the ones that you find easier first, and then have a go at some of the trickier ones that you've left to last. If you would like to challenge yourself that little bit further, I want you to extend your sentences to add extra detail. For example, screeching roars. Okay, so there's my verb. I've started my sentence with a verb. Screeching roars deafened my ears. I could stop there. That could be my sentence, but if you can carry on, you should carry it on, okay? Because that's what we're expecting of you. Screeching roars deafened my ears as a mammoth, dinosaur-like creature searched for its prey. So there's your challenge today. Can you add, once you've worried, once you've thought about the beginning of your sentence and starting it with a different DADWAVER, can you add some extra information to the rest of your sentence? Just make it that bit more interesting and exciting to read. Okay, that is it for today, Year 5. So that is your task, and I will look forward to reading them later. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.